Welcome back to another episode of Right Here in Mass. Joining me today is John Page, Executive Director of the Amherst Business Improvement District. John is a lifelong Amherst area local with deep ties to the community. Before taking the reins at BID, he helped lead major events at UMass Amherst and previously worked with the Amherst Area Chamber of Commerce on economic development and tourism initiatives. John, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here and to share a little bit about Amherst.
Absolutely. So how about we start with that? Talk about more about yourself and the position that you currently have and what you do for Amherst.
Absolutely. So I am the executive director of the Amherst Business Improvement District, or BID, or BID, as we like to call it. And what that means is I have the privilege of focusing on downtown Amherst and making sure it's vibrant and welcoming to everyone. Um, and this job is very special to me because I've been in the Amherst area my whole life. So I grew up here, went through the public schools, went to UMass Amherst, and my first job actually in high school was working at UMass Amherst, making sandwiches in the dining commons. Um, and that kind of sparked my trajectory in hospitality and tourism. And after I graduated from UMass, I started working with the Amherst Area Chamber of Commerce and in town. And that was a great experience. That's kind of how I got my professional career started. And we like to say we're a small town with big city energy or big city vibes. So, over the course of my career, I've bounced around. I bounced back to the university where I worked on high profile events like commencement and events with the chancellor before returning to downtown, where I work with the bid now. So it's just been a great privilege, and I get to keep just being a cheerleader for Amherst, one of my
Yeah,
favorite jobs of all.
right. I was going to say that knowing how you've been so close knit within the community your entire life, I mean, you're like their biggest fan pretty much just with everything you've done.
Yes, I can always say I can speak with kind of unique experience because I've enjoyed this place as a kid, growing up, as a college student, living in downtown, owning a home in the town next door, working in various capacities. So I've gotten to experience the town from a variety of perspectives.
Yeah, absolutely. And in your role as executive director, I'd love to hear not only what you focus on, but also for our listeners who might not be familiar with what the bid is, maybe start there, sharing what the bid is and then what you focus on within the organization specifically.
Absolutely. So bids are this very interesting model, started over 40 years ago in Canada, across the globe, but they have a specific structure here in Massachusetts, which is geographically defined districts, places, typically a main street or a downtown. The property owners within that district and business owners pay in to support things that help everyone in the district. So that's marketing and promotion, events and programming that welcome people to that place, and beautification efforts, plantings, cleaning the streets, lighting, benches, tables, and chairs. And so that's what a bid is. Our Amherst bid, we have we call it a walkable 1 mile of commerce, culture, and community, because we have our local businesses. We're also flanked by Amherst College and UMass, with Hampshire College just down the road. So we have all sorts of wonderful museums and arts and culture activities going on. And then our cherished small businesses. We have a lot of independent retailers and small folks, mom and pop restaurants that you can't really experience anywhere else, and that we're really proud of.
Mhm. Yeah. And so I can imagine that just from the incredible work that a bid does, that I'm sure the benefits come back tenfold to the business owners who kind of pay into it, so to say. So I can imagine by investing in the marketing, investing in curb appeal, I can imagine that leads to hopefully a good influx of customers or good benefits from their businesses just from that investment that they've been able to make.
Absolutely. So for an individual business owner, and the our bid is just over a decade old. And prior to that, individual business owners, maybe the owner of a clothing store or a restaurant, might take on an initiative. We're going to do a restaurant week, or we're going to do these sidewalk sales. But it's hard as a small business owner to tackle that and take that on all by yourself when you're already running your business. And that's what you love and that's what you're passionate about. But by having a bid, it's my job and our small team every day to make sure it is beautiful and welcoming and safe everywhere in the district, that we have lots going on, including in the summer when it is quieter here as a cultural college town, as we like to call it, that we still have live music going on in our parks and our town common, um, and that we are shouting from the rooftops on every medium and channel, come to Amherst, come on downtown, and experience this place we know and love.
Yeah, and I love that point that you brought up about being able to put in a lot of work to make sure that it's a really good attraction for people to visit year round, like you said, with the live music events and stuff like that. And so, in addition to planning events and helping businesses with their marketing in the downtown, what are some things specifically that you do within your role as executive director?
Yes. So, as leader of the organization, I wear many hats and do many things. Actually, the timing is perfect today because we were helping some restaurants with their garbage and recycling and the oil from their kitchen and how to dispose of that. So, it is really the full gamut of working with small business owners, supporting them, coaching them, being a liaison to town hall and state agencies, anything to help them through those processes so they can focus on making that delicious dish or selling that item that they're really passionate about. So there's the small business support role. That is one of my main roles. And additionally, there's also working strategically with the town and all its elected leaders and the colleges. Um, Amherst is very much a cultural college town, as we like to say. So we have UMass Amherst College in Hampshire. We're also home to the Emily Dickinson Museum,
Mhm.
the Eric Carle Museum of Picture Book Art, the Yiddish Book Center, um, among so many other attractions that I have the distinct pleasure of getting to work with all those folks and connecting them with our downtown. And it's I get to be the spokesperson for the organization and do things like join you on this podcast today.
Yeah, and I think it's like you said, you nailed it perfectly. Just wearing many hats. Really, it kind of seems like from what you've shared, just being able to listen to business owners in the area and think about or hear from them what it is they need, and then being able to provide the solution for them.
Yes. And one other advocacy role I should have mentioned is there's also long-term kind of strategic planning as a district, and working with the city and state agencies, the town. We are the city known as the town of Amherst. So it's one of our fun little facts about us. Um, but things like housing and transportation and roads uh, impact our downtown in a big way. So when we can plug in and get involved with how that's changing and being shaped across Massachusetts, that's my job too.
And I'm glad that you brought up that advocacy point. And you mentioned earlier too, being a liaison between the business owners and town hall and state agencies, so that way they feel accurately and fairly represented in various topics or issues that might come up that affect them. So, off the top of your head, can you think of anything in particular or examples of how you've done that? I know you mentioned stuff with like infrastructure and transportation, but have there been any specific I guess, instances or situations that have come up that you've helped advocate for that?
Sure. I'll give two more recent examples. Um, one one that's come up multiple times is a restaurant navigating opening for the first time. So that experience is different in every city and town, even
Mhm.
across Massachusetts. So Sometimes, though, we have first, second generation immigrants opening up restaurants. We love to see that. We're proud of the global flavors that we have. But particularly if English isn't your first language, navigating all these systems can be challenging. So I get to help people, walk people through the permitting process. So that's everything from fire safety, health and food codes, but also a lot of restaurants have alcohol. So there's
Hmm.
state agencies that you have to get licenses from and permits locally too. So that entire process with restaurants is one where it's a real privilege to serve as a liaison and try to be a partner as people navigate this process.
Hmm.
Um, Another one more recently or ongoing is our library. So we have one of the anchors in our downtown is our public library, the Jones Library. And they have been working on a renovation and expansion project, which preserves the history of this 1928 building, but also opens up the building to be more accessible to others, to offer programming that right now is challenged not by the amazing people putting it on, but by the building itself. And so recently, we also view it as an economic driver from our perspective. This brings people in, welcomes them into our downtown and makes Amherst a more desirable place to live and work because it's such a great asset for us. I could go on about all the things that Jones Library offers, but that required some advocacy at the state level, even some federal and state grants. We got to write letters of support or show up to meetings, including working with Mass Historic Commission and working through how to balance that, preserve the historic elements, but also welcome this beautiful, expanded, renovated building that can serve more people. So that's where the bid got involved and supported the project and served as a partner throughout it. And construction hopefully will be starting in the coming months.
That's
So we're
exciting.
excited to finally we're pretty close to seeing that to come to fruition.
Yeah, and I love that you brought that example up particularly because I'm a huge advocate of supporting your local library. As someone like myself who's on the board of library trustees for my library, and so anytime someone mentions
Hmm.
libraries, I'm like so important. So I love to hear the work that you're doing with that. To like you said, I mean, it's bringing people into Amherst, so being able to make sure that the library has the support it needs, I think is really great.
Absolutely. I think of it as, I believe the book, Eric Kleinenberg, Palaces for the People. Hopefully I got that correct, but that talks about third spaces. And so
Yes.
certainly I support the businesses. We're lucky to have a lot of mixed use. So people live downtown, they work downtown, they shop downtown, they eat downtown. But it's important part of what we do, whether it's with planting flowers, park benches, maintaining our green spaces, supporting our library and our community center. It's creating those what are often called like third spaces that is not home, not work or someone where you're purchasing something, but it's a community space where you can just be
Yes.
and enjoy. And that is such an important part of what we do. Among like local economic development organizations or business associations, whatever you want to call them, the a bid is most focused on place,
Mhm.
creating a sense of place, pride of place, a welcoming place. And those third spaces, whether it be a renovated library or a park that is clean and safe and has some nice flowers now that it's warm out,
Yes.
those all are so important in my book.
Yes, definitely. And you brought up a good point earlier, which I know we touched on briefly, which is being able to offer continuous events throughout the year, such as summer when students or faculty might not be in the area for
Mhm.
school and classes. And I know you're going to be having a live events, but is there anything else that you're planning that might be coming up in the coming months that you would love people to know about?
Yes. So we're continuing and expanding our tradition of having live music on our town common. We have a classic New England town common, and we have two adjacent parks. So we'll have those programmed for um, 9 times throughout the summer. So we love welcoming people in for that. We have a live music venue, the Drake, which previously would wind down in the summer. They are staying open much longer, I think only closing briefly in July. And then another point of pride is our farmers market. So the heyday of the farmers market, certainly it opened up last week, but coming in the summer and beginning of fall is really a delight. That's every Saturday on our town common. So not to be missed, a good excuse to come into downtown and then linger and stick around
Hmm.
because there's programming many weekends of the summer. Um, in addition to that, a group has kind of spun off from the farmers market. We're going to have a Thursday afternoon, 3 to 7, um, artisan market. So these are going to be artists, makers that are not food related, but they're going to have their own market on Thursdays, the
Hmm.
details of which are being finalized with the town. But we're excited to offer that as well to bring people out on Thursdays, a little bit quieter day.
Hmm.
Um, and then hopefully coming to a downtown near us soon, keeping with that theme of converting events to activities. In other words, not just a one-time thing, but something regular. We're also exploring maybe having a wellness Sunday. So
Oh,
think
nice.
yoga, frisbee, group activities, even maybe we're trying to figure out the logistics for some pickup basketball too. So just
Hmm.
health and wellness activities that would bring people together one day a week and really use those public spaces that we have. The other thing that we have on deck is restaurant week. So we're going to in June 8th, it's going to kick off, have a week dedicated to all the global flavors we have in Amherst. So we're going to encourage people to come out on Sunday night, Monday night, Tuesday, Wednesday, those nights when that are a little quieter. We have a nice rotation where everyone kind of closes one day of the week. Some people are open 7 days a week, but the summer can be quieter. So we're going to welcome folks to come out on that week and enjoy. Try a new. We're going to challenge people. Try a new place you've never been. And we're going to have a bunch of incentives. If you check into multiple places, you could win some local prizes.
Oh, cool.
So we're excited about that.
Yeah, you all have such a busy season coming up, it seems like, which I think is really amazing. And especially with like the diverse types of activities and events and programs that you're offering. And it makes me wonder that I'm curious to hear, how do you come up with those? Like, do you have conversations often with business owners to kind of see what they would like to be a part of and involved in, or hear from residents what they would like to see? I'm curious how that process goes about.
Absolutely. So we're not reinventing the wheel. I think if you I love Amherst, but I do like to travel around too. And you think of all your favorite places. If you see something you enjoy, you think is great, kind of bring it back home. And
Mhm.
imitation can be the best form of flattery. Um, but also, I'm sitting right now in our Visitors Information Center. So we are right in the heart of our downtown. Our door, when the weather's nice, is generally open, and business owners, community members alike come on in. And we like to have this joke in that in Amherst, only the H is silent for us locals. And so people come on in and they share ideas all the time, and it's wonderful. And every once in a while, we can take what starts a little idea and translate that into a community event that becomes a tradition for years to come. So certainly we get ideas from other communities, our residents, our business owners, and the biggest thing is also just evolving over time.
Mhm.
We long time had a restaurant event called the Taste of Amherst, and we're trying to incorporate the best aspects of that event in our restaurant week, but not duplicate some of the challenges.
Yeah.
So we also want to take our traditions and the ideas that people have and just make sure they work in 2025 and work
Mhm.
for our businesses now.
Yes, absolutely. And one of the things that I'm curious to hear about too is your personal career with joining the BID. And so I'd love to hear more about what that has been like, if there were any challenges or hurdles that you faced when getting into it, all the good stuff.
Right. That is a great question. So, I think prior to starting this job, at this point, between different community involvement, different like nonprofit boards, and just community events, as well as my roles at the chamber and UMass Amherst, I was often called just the event guy. Oh, John Page. There's also a lot of Johns, so usually end up being John Page. But that event guy. And certainly the bid is much more than events, but it is a portion of what we do. And so when the previous director took on a new role, I actually stepped in to help out with the summer concert series. As just a one-off, I'm going to help organize this event that I often attended, been at, helped out at even, but never managed myself and put on this series, really a festival with many, many concert dates. So that's how I got back involved with the bid. And, we have a really hands-on board. They were at the summer concerts. We sell beer and wine. They were checking IDs, putting on wristbands, welcoming folks. And a few of them said, the executive director role has been out there and you have not applied yet. And they really encouraged me, I should say, to that it might be a good fit, despite that I'm probably younger than most executive directors in similar roles. So I got a lot of encouragement from members of the board that I should at least give it a shot. And since jumping in, I I think my experience, I say half of it I knew, but half has been a learning curve.
Mhm.
So, having been around long enough, it's like I said, I've been to these events. I've helped out with different beautification efforts in town, but seeing like how the sausage is made, is a whole new thing, including again how the bid is funded in part is assessments on buildings. So I learned a whole lot
Mm.
about real estate
Yeah.
and assessments and how buildings are evaluated. So zoning, planning. So could have a whole nother topic on that one day. But it's been a real privilege to jump into this role, and I'm still learning. So the summer concerts will mark kind of my first year of being at least connected back with the bid.
Mhm.
But I think I have many more years of learning to go from here.
I love that. And I think it's a huge testament to who you are as both a person and a professional that board members were like, hey, you really need to apply for this role. I mean, it goes to show your hard work and determination and all your effort that goes into being involved in your community. So I think that's really wonderful to hear. I think that's a great story about kind of getting that nudge that you needed to apply for the position. Yeah. And
Yes.
and so with the summer concert series, I'd love to hear more about that specifically because I know you've mentioned a few times and it seems like a really great series that you're offering. And so I'm curious to hear like how anyone in the area can attend them or even get involved, or even people from across the state who'd like to visit and be able to attend them.
Absolutely. So all are welcome. And so that is the message. We hold them on our town common, and it's very important to us that anyone can attend. We have anywhere between 500, 700 people, but we have room for more. So come on down. They are Fridays this year spanning from June 27th all the way to August 1st, but we're going to take the 4th of July, which happens to be a Friday, off this year. Those are our concerts, community concerts on the Common. And we have jazz and blues. One night is just dedicated to the UMass Jazz in July program, which I'm not a jazz expert, but this is really one of the programs where kind of the experts in the jazz world get to teach the next generation of musicians. And what we get to host is the All-Stars concert. So kind of culminating after their weeks-long programs, we get to hear from the faculty and sometimes the students as well perform. So that's always a wonderful tradition and a good connection with the university. I think we're even going to have a little bit of Willie Nelson cover music
Oh,
too. So
cool.
we've kind of got the full spectrum over the course of the summer. But it's really a highlight. 3 Saturdays of the summer. You can find them probably later this month on our website. But the Amherst Community Band is going to play. So that is people of all ages. It's wind instruments, full classic band, but people of are all welcome. You've got high school students up to seniors who are just love music and are mentoring some of the younger folks. And so that's a really great program. They always a highlight of the summer as well.
Yeah, it sounds like that. And between all of the events that you've shared, it's so evident that you are a busy person just keeping up with everything. And so I'm curious to hear how you juggle your time with everything you have going on within your role. And I'm sure there's a whole feeling of when you do what you love, it doesn't really feel like work. But I'm curious to hear how you balance everything both personally and professionally.
That is a great question. And when I know the answer for sure, that'll be wonderful. But I think what's really great, I think I mentioned being here in the visitor center is I do try to be intentional about how I plan certain days, and I like to leave space in my schedule for the when someone walks in and they just want to
Mhm.
chat. I try to make sure that's in there because it's going to happen
Totally.
for sure, and those can be some of the most rewarding moments. So try to not over schedule myself. Sometimes it's walking to get a coffee, or today it was a smoothie at Quench, one of our shops here, and you end up solving the problem on the sidewalk with 2 or 3 people, so you didn't even have to have a meeting. So
Mhm.
sometimes that's the best way to get things done. Um, but I'm trying to think if I have any other good advice on that. I do have to say there is this word of wisdom. If you need something, you want to get something done, ask a busy person or a mom or a parent. And
Yeah.
that does hold true. Uh, I work with a lot of busy people, whether they're running a restaurant or they're a volunteer in town hall on a committee on top of their professional life. But if you ask busy people with a very, tangible ask, um, can we get this done? Usually that's the type of person that can get something done.
Yeah, and you brought up a great point there too, of alluding to asking for help as well. It sounds like you have a really
Hmm.
great team that you can rely on to help support a lot of these initiatives that you're helping to drive.
Yes, I do have to give a shout out to Robert, our new marketing and communications manager, because our team went from in the transition, we were down to no staff, and then I was back, and so that was one staff, and getting Robert on board with our marketing initiatives that doubled our capacity. And it's been pretty transformative even in the past couple months, including we just had our dessert crawl, which was a very
Ooh.
popular event, tradition that had happened back in 2016, 2017, but had kind of gone away over COVID and all these things. And so I gave that to Rob and said, take this on. Let's see if we can revive this tradition. And he really ran with it. And we sold out with 200 people attending and hopping between place to place, enjoying delicious desserts. And that was all thanks to Rob's leadership. So
That's
You can't
amazing.
do it without a team, and that team includes property owners, business owners, the bid staff. We're co-located with the Chamber of Commerce, who has more of
Mhm.
a regional perspective on things, um, town hall, and community members. Nothing happens without all of those people coming together.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree about the importance of community members and team members that can step in to help when needed. And so I'm curious to hear too, throughout your experience working within your community, what advice would you have to give to someone who's listening to this episode who is also thinking about working for a bid within their town or even other some type of local community organization?
That is another great question. I think it is to always assume best intentions and have a lot of grace with people. Any public facing role. I don't, in my role, I don't fix the roads in particular, but I've certainly had residents or community members come in about a pothole or something, and I talk with them and I listen and I try to get the information to the right person for them. Um, but they can come in very emotional and you just have to learn how to listen to people and hear where they're coming from. And if you can help them whenever you can.
Mhm.
I think that's the greatest challenge is assume everyone's coming from a good place, try to understand their perspective, and um, and just give everybody a lot of grace because you don't know what other things they're juggling too. I think that's essential in any role working with the public. And then I think too, as we previously talked about, just asking for help and finding good partners in every project that you do. It used to be when I managed a dining hall, we would have champions or who's going to champion the salad bar or the sushi or the grill today. Well, you need those champions in whatever role that might be. Now in downtown, maybe you need the champion who's going to take on working with you on plantings and beautification. Maybe you have a local garden club, and that group of retirees can help you out in selecting your plantings for the year. Or you have a champion in a real advocate for walkability, bikeability in your town. So partner with them, see how you can make your downtown better, especially in Massachusetts, sometimes older infrastructure in downtowns. How can you make it more amenable to that? So find those champions that you can partner with to get stuff done.
Yes, great piece of advice. And as we get closer towards the end of this episode, one of my favorite questions to ask our guests is what their favorite local businesses are to support. So I'm curious to hear what your answers might be for that.
That is a challenging question because I love all of our businesses in our district so much, but I'll highlight a few of them. Amherst Coffee, right in the heart of downtown. When I need a pick me up, or they also turn into a whiskey bar at night,
Oh,
or they have a
cool.
full kind of elevated cocktail menu. So if you haven't been, both the coffee and the cocktails are delicious. Would highly recommend. And now with outdoor dining, now that it's summer, one of our bid initiatives. So you can enjoy that outside in the little parklet. Um, Again, I think Astor and Pine Market. I often hear in our downtown um, about wanting a grocery store. So we don't quite have a full service grocery store within our downtown, but if you have not been to Astor and Pine Market, you have to check it out. Husband and wife owned, Bill, trained chef, Mallory, a designer, and beautiful aesthetic. And they have milk, eggs, cheese, wine, um, all the essentials that you need. So definitely check out Astor and Pine if you haven't been. And I will give a shout out to our newest business, Amherst Oyster Bar. So
Ooh.
we like to say, being out here in Western Mass, we have everything but the ocean. So hard to compete. I know, with some of our other cities and towns out there. But now we have the Amherst Oyster Bar, where oysters are brought in fresh from the coast on a regular basis. So you can now enjoy, they do have a wide-ranging menu if seafood's not your thing. But if you want to enjoy fresh oysters and some other seafood, they are the newest place in town. So not to be missed.
Yes, and that is perfect just in time for summer with that fresh seafood.
Hmm. Exactly.
John, this has been a really great episode, and I've really enjoyed having you come on the show to talk about everything that's going on in Amherst and the downtown. And now I'd love to have you share with our listeners where they can find more online about the BID in case they'd like to reach out and connect further.
Thank you so much. It's been a great pleasure. My favorite thing is getting to share about Amherst. And you can find us online at amherstdowntown.com and on most social media at Amherst Downtown.
Perfect. And I will link to those places in the show notes that our listeners can easily connect with you from there. But thank you so much again for coming on today's show.
Thank you.